I think the best answer to that question is that no one knows the answer, and that the question is not particularly thoughtful. There is no currently known approach to slowing human aging, and anyone who answers that is making it up and trying to fool you. I think if one is seriously interested in doing something in the next decade to find good anti-aging therapies for people, the correct thing to do is to lobby hard for more funding for basic aging science. Once we have a good sense of both what controls aging and what drugs might modify the aging process, then we'll have a better answer to your question.
I think there are a number of important anti-aging interventions. The first thing is to do plenty of exercise, keep yourself healthy, have a good diet with plenty of fruits, vegetables, grains, etc. You should also keep a check on your blood cholesterol levels, your blood pressure, your blood glucose, etc. All of these are risk factors for disease, and you can bring them under control with very low levels of medications. I think also you need to pay attention to your diet, and you may want to consider taking certain supplements in small amounts. But in general, supplements will not replace the effects of exercise, diet, and so on. And these are all very important things. It's also very important in protecting against dementia to be socially engaged, to keep your brain active, to be curious about things, and to have plenty of mental activity and a lot of friends. These together will have a big impact.
I think there's several promising interventions. I talked about AKG today. I'm very excited about that, but there are many geroprotectors that I think have the potential to enhance health span and lifespan. And I think the most important thing is that we do the studies to determine which interventions work best in which people. Everyone's different. It's very personalized. So ultimately, we need to know how to choose which intervention for which person.
In the next decade, I think that xenotherapeutics, senolytic drugs are going to be very important. I think that GLP-1s are going to be very important too, because they're demonstrating already that they can work with 3 aging diseases, maybe more in the future. Existing drugs. So existing drugs that are approved that also prove that they have a benefit for aging. And of course, cellular reprogramming to reprogram every cell in the body is exciting, but that's probably going to take a bit longer.
So actually, the ones that interest me the most is sort of to see what will happen with the compounds or inhibitors they've already been working on. So things that, for example, inhibit TORC1. I think it'd be very nice to see if they end up in the clinic or if they end up having a very sort of good use in clinical practice. And the other thing that I would be quite interested in is to see if we gain more understanding of certain sort of treatments or sort of strategies that we know really work really well, like exercise. So we know exercise works really well. It's almost like a miracle cure, but we don't understand how. And I think it'd be very nice to see if in the next decade we get a better understanding of how it works.
Yeah, I think we will see many exciting developments, and personally I think in the whole stem cell field we will see big breakthroughs and hopefully also real-world application for humans. So not just exciting things happening in the lab, but really becoming tangible for everybody, hopefully.
So I think the first drugs that will come out that will slow the biology of aging, by which I mean prevent multiple diseases of aging, are going to start as obesity drugs. Not the GLP-1 drugs that have come out now, but sort of the next generation of obesity drugs that will increase the level of energy that our bodies use, reduce obesity, but then the same drugs will also not just reduce obesity, but improve our metabolism, our ability to exercise and prevent multiple diseases of aging.
应该是我们在实验室筛选的一些分子化合物，比如说这个雷帕霉素，在过去10多年来已经显出非常有效的在至少在动物层面上能够抗衰老，这是它是为代表的。 现在有更多实验室在筛选更多的，发现有更多的这样的是在药物或者说不是药物的这种小分子化合物，这个是肯定是能够在有很好的技术有效。那的问题就是说，怎么能够应用在临床上，去验证它们是不是对人类有效？至于说长远的那些技术，打个比方说是干细胞也好啊，或基因治疗也好，那个就难度更大。这个研究的基础，这个证据不够充分，也许是未来，但是至少在下个10年的这个时候，还是我们知道这些在动物层面上有效的这些化合物是药还是不是药，这个是应该是我们可以看到有更多证据，还是相对来说又切实可行。
I think we will have some pretty interesting tools for the next decade. Peptides will be one of the tools that we will be able to use to really help with these, let's call, preventable diseases that are associated with age. Also, I think we need more research, prove what is the best combination in our behavior in terms of what we can do to really achieve, to maximize the effects of physical exercise, of diet, or maximize our sleep in terms of our health, our levels of stress, and so on and so on and so on. Because I really think that, as we know, genes are having less and less importance in our health span. So it seems like at the beginning we give lots of importance to genes, and now slowly we are decreasing this importance and yes, realizing that probably our behavior is much more important to health span. The second step, as I mentioned, I think we are getting some very promising results with some peptides.
我是觉得啊，你说起衰老干预技术，其实现在技术有很多，有干细胞的技术，有各种营养品的技术，是吧？吃各种营养品，然后吃各种保健品，等等等等，这些都是。但实际上呢，这些技术就是大家看起来就说的天花乱坠，但是呢，对于每个个体来说，其实它的适应性是不一样的，因为每个人的健康状况不一样。它可能它的，比如说它的细胞出了问题，你给它补充点干细胞可能是有效的。比如说它的某一个地方，它就可能缺点什么一些营养物质，那你给它补充补充就可以了。甚至很多人他其实他这个都不缺，他缺了什么呢？他缺了睡眠，你睡一睡它就好了，对吧？所以这种技术我觉得是说因人而异。
Okay, well, in the next decade, I mean, this is an important question. I think certainly where we're going to get to know something at the clinical level, especially, right? I'm a preclinical scientist, but it's important to talk about clinical potential. I think probably repurposing of drugs that are currently used already for other applications, rapamycin, metformin, but perhaps other drugs, GLP-1 agonists, I think repurposing of these drugs could certainly be something attainable and achievable perhaps in the next 5 to 10 years. Then if we want to think about more advanced, let's say, or revolutionary approaches, I would say things aimed more at the reprogramming or, let's say, techniques more in the rejuvenation space may be the next wave of technology. But I would say for now, drug repurposing and perhaps combinations of drugs with supplements or combinations of supplements, but with establishment of clinical efficacy. That would be the next goal.
我自己觉得其实衰老干预的技术路线有很多种膳食补充剂啊、药物啊，然后包括一些基因的疗法、细胞的疗法，还有菌群的干预等等。其实这些呢，我觉得都有很不错的未来的发展的前景。但是如果从这个全面性来看呢，我自己个人比较期待的可能是细胞和基因方面的衰老干预的方法，因为这可能可以从很深层的机理上面去改善我们驱动衰老的这些因素啊。对，
我个人觉得我是非常支持换血 换血小板，其实是换血小板了。因为换血呢，大家可能听到的比较多啊，有可能公众对这个词儿呢也是褒贬不一。但事实上呢，从科学角度来讲呢，其实今天我们介绍的过程中也发现它是很有历史的。它从原来做一体共生，了解了血液对于这个衰老的干预能力。那后面的话呢，我们也是就是通过科学的方法去找到哪些血缘因子能够真的帮助我们抵抗衰老。那我为什么会比较支持血小板呢？因为我觉得血小板呢其实是血液中的一个重要的一个细胞类型，而且比例非常的高。而且现在的这个科研上面已经发现，它的这个某个成分抗菌肽其实就是一类血缘因子，可以很好的帮助在小鼠上进行验证，可以延长寿命啊，可以对它的这个神经的炎症，还有像海马的记忆，还有像还有肌肉的功能。都有作用，而我们呢也已经能观察到这个血小板在不同人群中它的血液质量的一个差异，所以我是想说，如果说未来血小板它有机会大规模的产生，那么不再受到献血的压力的情况下呢，我觉得它是有机会能够帮助我们成为一个干预手段。但这里我还要再多一个观点的这个阐述，就是我本人其实并不是说很支持说一定是直接之间的一个血液的一个交换，因为这是不符合这个国家的规则。那么我们其实指的还是说如何能够通过一个种子细胞，然后大规模的产生血小板，然后作为一个细胞药物的一个规则，然后进入到药用体系，进入到治疗体系，成为一个干预的手段。所以还是一个合理合规的一个方法学去做这个换血小板。
从我们自身的一个研究的角度来说，我认为未来10年最大的一个突破的点，很可能就是通过干预我们自身的一个代谢率，去改变你的一个长寿的一个 time course。简单说就是，我觉得每一个人的一个生物钟实际上是有一个弹性的一个状况。那我们实际上可以从代谢的角度去把你这个通过你干预你这个代谢中的一个延缓的一个速度，来使得你这个平时我们接触到的这个时钟跟你自己自身的一个代谢率的一个时钟给错开。怎么说呢？就是说代谢本身它实际上是我们都知道说代谢酶所催化的，它实际上是可以受到很多因素的调控，比如说温度啦、湿度啦，甚至你们那个我知道有一些比如公司在做一些氧气控制的一个对于你自身一个代谢的一个控制。所以我充分认为未来如果你从代谢的角度把每一个个体的一个生物钟给干预，使得生物钟得到一个弹性的变化，那我觉得这是一个很好的点，就是干预整个所有个人的一个生命的一个长度。
I think in the next decade we will see the rise of using mRNA vaccines against cancer, against many age-related diseases. So that's speaking the next 10 years, because the first great drugs against cancer, against other age-related disease are right now going through clinical trials. So we're going to see them really soon.
Gene therapy, because our genes are the instruction set for not only how we develop, but how we continue to exist once we have developed. So if we can rewrite that code, it's going to take a while. It might take more than 10 years to do it as well as we want. But if we can rewrite that code, we'll be able to potentially become more than human.
So I think regenerative medicine is definitely the most promising. So regenerative medicine is basically using cell and gene therapy, because if you can reprogram cells, for example, you can make them younger. Or if you can edit your genes, you can program them and change their process.
Probably going to be genetic engineering. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased in that direction. But I think the most profound effect will probably be engineering human embryos so that the machinery of aging is slowed from the very beginning.
That's an interesting question. Be honest with you, I think that the most promising endeavor has to do with the mind. And I don't mean like neurodegeneration or the study of the brain, but actually with spirituality, motivation, and self-actualization. So everything that we talk about in anti-aging has to do with modalities that heal the physical body, movement, organ function, energy levels, meditation, things of that nature. But no one ever talks about mental state and mental health. And I don't care if you live to be 100 years old. There's instances where we see people are totally healthy and they still die. There are instances where we see people that are totally unhealthy and they live long, happy, successful lives. So what is the main difference besides the science? And I think the mental state and the power of, having mental tenacity and having a good emotional balance is more powerful than anything that we have yet to encounter. And you're learning how to harness that mental state and mental power for mental health and wellness has healing properties and healing components for the body in and of itself. Not to mention, when you have mental health, that is your longevity, that is your health span, that is your, longevity. And working towards accessing that and, being able to proliferate that in all populations and age groups, I think is going to be more beneficial than anything else that we do in the science.
在国内嘛，就我们在中国肯定，我觉得衰老干预啊，应该还是离不开中医药的影子。我觉得可能中医药，因为它本来就是一个很多抗衰老的品类都是药食同源的嘛，对吧？而且很多现在的实验中，比如说像我们知道的，比如在这个衰老论坛里提出来的什么麦角磷啊、胡萝卜碱啊这些，其实也都是传统这个药物中它的一些混性成分。所以说中医药呢，它本身也有着复方药物的这种应用基础，而且大部分的情况呢，它表现为的是多靶点多途径的这样的一个干预作用。那衰老本身又这么复杂，所以说我觉得复方中药呢，实际上是有它自己的这个独特的定位和市场的。本来呢，在中国国内呢，这个各个层级的吧，应该是我们说从现在的青年人到现在的老年人，其实对中医药的这个接受程度还是比较高的。所以说，我觉得可能不用说未来10年嘛，我觉得中医药抗衰老这个市场应该是越来越壮大的。那此外呢，我们现在我个人觉得可能细胞治疗应该是一个比较好的一个有前景的一个方向吧，毕竟它是一个叫再生医学嘛，对吧？那这里面还有一些问题可能需要亟待解决，包括它的这个定植啊、增殖啊、分化呀等等问题。那我觉得可能随着技术的进步，包括目前现在所披露出来的临床1期、2期的这样的一个细胞治疗的这个数据，我觉得还是非常有希望的。